Okay, hello, sixth grade, and welcome to 2.5. Chapter 2, continuing on, is fractions and decimals. And section 5 is, I'm going to abbreviate, multiplying decimals. And for our learning targets today, it's I can explain how to multiply decimals. Okay, and that's what we're going to look at first with our key idea. And it says multiplying decimals by whole numbers. Multiply as you would with whole numbers. All right, great. So if you remember, we line our numbers up in the small, if you have less digits like you do here, you put them all the way to the right, just like so you almost ignore the decimal point right away. And then it says, then count the number of decimal places in the decimal factor. The product has the same number of decimal places. So if you see here, looking at our top number 13.91, it has 2 places after the decimal. And so in my answer, I'll have 2 places after the decimal as well. Okay, it's the same with this one. My top factor, 6.218, has 3 digits after the decimal, so I need to have the same number, 1, 2, 3, after the decimal in my product or my answer of the multiplication problem. Again, I think you've probably seen this before, but this is just to really make sure we understand how to do it. Because once you get into probably like 8th grade, freshman year, it's kind of redundant to keep doing these if you know how to do them. So then we let you use a calculator. But for now, we need to know that you understand how to multiply decimals by hand. Okay? So let's try one. It says 6 times 3.91. I always like to start with the number that has more places, so 3.91 and times 6. Okay? I'm just going to not worry about my decimal for a little bit, so multiply as I would like whole numbers. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 9 is 54. Carry my 5. And 6 times 3 is 18. Plus 5 would give me 23. And then, now I need to think about my decimal. There are 2 places after the decimal in my factor, so I need the same in my product or in my answer. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Here's my decimal point, 23.46, or 23 and 46 hundredths. Okay, let's just estimate to see if that's reasonable. Well, 6 times 3.91 would round to 4. 6 times 4 is 24. Yeah, that's pretty close to 24, so that's reasonable. Okay, next one, 3 times 0.016. I'll put the number that has more place values on top, so 0.016 times 3. I'll move that all the way to the right. And then multiply like I would with whole numbers. So 6 times 3 is 18. Carry my 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 3 times 0 is 0. And 3 times 0 is 0. And then I need to remember to use my rule about decimal places. There's 3 numbers after the decimal. So in my final answer, there will be 3 numbers after the decimals. Decimal will go right there, 0.048. Okay? In the next example, we'll use a little bit of mental math. It says, how high is the stack of dimes? And if we add 100 dimes. Well, I know 1 dime is 1.35 millimeters thick. Wow, that's pretty thin, and as you know, a dime is pretty thin. How high is the stack of 100 of them? Well, what's nice is anytime we multiply by 10 or 100 or 1,000, all we need to do is move the decimal the same number of zeros as we have. So when we multiply by 10, we move the decimal one spot to the right. Okay, because there's 1 0. If we multiply by 100, we move the decimal 2 spots to the right because there's 2 zeros. That's what's really nice about the metric system, especially. In America here, we use the standard system where we have inches and feet and yards and ounces and cups, and we have to do all these conversions to go from one unit to the next. And it's kind of tricky. I'll be honest with you. You need to know all these random numbers. Well, when you're in the metric system, they're based on tens. And so all you need to do to convert in the metric system is move decimals. It's super simple, super easy. I hope someday America goes to the metric system because conversions are simple. Anyways, you got a little off track there. Get back to here. If one dime is 1.35 millimeters thick, and I need to know how high a stack of 100 is, just multiply by 100, or in other words, move your decimal 2 spots to the right. So that will give me 135 millimeters for an answer. Okay, super nice. When multiplying by 10 or 100 or 1,000, move the decimal the same number of zeros you have. All right, to the 5 OYOs, please pause the video here and try them out on your own, and then come back to check and see if you got the right answer. For number 1, you should have gotten 98.4. Number 2, 72.55. Number 3, 7.92. Number 4, 0.03. Again, you're multiplying by 10, so you can just move it one spot to the right. And in number 5, 1,750 millimeters. Okay. If you didn't get any of those right, please go back and rework them. Ask a friend or ask me for some assistance. All right, the next key idea is now when we multiply decimals by other decimals. So we have just a slight change in our rule. We start off the same, so multiply as you would with whole numbers, so you're kind of ignoring the decimals at first, and then add the number of decimal places in the factors, is the word I'm looking for. The sum is the number of decimal places in the product. This is kind of a fancy way of saying decide how many decimal places are in each of your numbers being multiplied. So the first number, I have 3. The second number, I have 1 decimal place. Add those together for a total of 4 decimal places, and that's what needs to be 1, 2, 3, 4 in your final answer. Okay, so very similar. We just now add all of the decimal places up. So let's see what that looks like in a problem. I've got 4.8 times 7.2. First, just multiply as you would with whole numbers. So 8 times 2, 16. Carry my 1. 4 times 2, 8, plus 1, 9. Move over a decimal place value, so I need to put in a placeholder. 7 times 8 is 56. Carry my 5. 7 times 4 is 28. 9, 30, 31, 32, 33. And then add those together. So 6, 15, 4, and 3. So I get 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I need to take 1, 2 decimal places. I had 1 here, and that should be what I have in my answer. 1, 2 spots. So 34.56. Okay, and on to letter B. I'm going to kind of use the same style or use the same method that I used for letter A. And this time I'm going to start with 0.05. Again, I like to write my numbers that have more places. So this one has 1, 2, 3, and this one only has 2. I like to write my numbers with more place values on top. You can do it either way. This is just the way I prefer. Whoop. Not sure what happened there. Times 3.1. Okay. Forgetting about my decimal places for a second, I've got 1 times 5 is 5, 0, and 0. Placeholder, 3 times 5 is 15. Carry my 1. 3 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1, and 3 times 0 is 0. Adding up my numbers, I get 5, 5, 1, 0. And now I look at my decimal places. So I have 2 and 1. So 2 plus 1 give me 3 spots in the end. So 1, 2, 3. So 0.155 or 155 thousandths for my answer. All right. Pause the video. Try 6, 7, 8, 9 on your own. For 6, you should have gotten 45.36. For 7, 24.408. Number 8 is 0.5688. Or if you just had 0.5688, that would be the same thing. Technically, you don't need that 0. And number 9 is 0.3570. Let me know if you have questions. On to the last problem. The real life example says you buy $2.75 of tomatoes and you hand the cashier a $10 bill. How much change will you receive if the tomatoes are $1.89 per pound? Okay, well, I know that I bought 2.75 pounds and I know that it's $1.89 per pound. So I just need to take that per pound cost and multiply it by how many pounds I got. Okay, a lot of times when you see the word per, you're thinking about multiplication. So 275 per pound, or pounds is how many we got, and it's 189 per pound. I'll just multiply those. 9 times 5 should give me 45. So I'll put down my 5 and carry my 4. 9 times 7, 63, plus 4, 67. Carry my 6. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 6, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24. Placeholder, 40, so I'll carry my 4, perfect. 56, 60, carry my 6, perfect. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22. Now I go over 2 spots, so I need 2 placeholders. 1 times 5, 5, 7, and 2. Add up my numbers, and I'll get 5, 7, 9, 11, and 5. And in the end, I need to move my decimal. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So now I'm looking at this and I see it's 5.1975. Well, remember, when we're dealing with money, we only take the first 2 spots. So I'll look at this spot and it tells me to round this up. So 19 cents rounded up would be 20 cents. So it would be $5.20 would be my total for buying my tomatoes. Now, remember, it says we gave the cashier a $10 bill, so we need to figure out how much change we have. So if we take that $10 And now this time, remember, when adding and subtracting, you have to line up your decimals. And subtract that 520, we'll come up with how much change we got. Okay, doing a little mental math here. Can't take 0 from 20, so I'll borrow. This becomes a 9. Okay, and then what's the difference to get from 20 to 100? Well, that'd be 80 cents, and then 9 minus 5 would be $4.80. Okay, because if you add this 20 cents and this 80 cents together, you come up with $1. And 5 and 4 is 9, plus this dollar would give us 10. Okay, so $4.80 would be how much change we should receive. Okay. Lastly, just ending on a number challenge, it says if you know 12 times 24 is 288, how can you find 1.2 times 2.4? Okay, and why don't you pause the video and see if you can figure that out? All right, well, if you notice, we've got the same numbers. So 12 or 1.2, there's just a decimal in there. And 24, well, 24 is right here. There's just a decimal in between. And we know that's 288, 12 times 24. How could we find this? Well, our numbers are the same except for just a place value. So we just have a decimal in there. Well, how many decimal places are there? Well, there's 2. So our numbers are going to be the same. So we'll still have 288, except now there's 2 numbers after the decimal. So all I need to do is add this 2 spots there to get an answer of 2.88. Okay. All right. If you have more questions on 2.5, be sure to come see me. And that's all I have for multiplying decimals. Good luck on the homework, and until next time.